So we'll talk all about Greenland. Yeah. We're going to talk about Trump's potential in Minneapolis. I wish he would. He keeps talking about it. Amid the unrest and riots in Minneapolis in response to the ICE deployment. By the way, nobody has been arrested. Do you know that? There have been all these riots happening in Minneapolis. Last night, you have an ICE agent, I think actually it happened this afternoon. He shot a Venezuelan illegal because he was trying to arrest this guy, and a bunch of agitators came out and hit him with shovels. And so ICE barged in, arrested everybody. But in Minneapolis, there's straight up riots going on. They're shooting fireworks at cops, taking over hotels. It's mayhem. And you see the videos by Nick Sorter and these other guys. It's all over Twitter. Do you know that Minneapolis police arrested 0 people last night? So when you see these videos of fireworks blowing up and cops getting beat and the absolute anarchy that's unfolding, nobody's even getting arrested. So Trump says, I'll invoke the Insurrection Act. Bro, do it. Do something. Just stop chickening out. I'm just tired of the idle threats. We're going to bomb you. We're going to tariff you. We're going to invoke the Insurrection Act. Always chickens out. Just do it. You're the commander-in-chief. He does it every time. He did it during the BLM riots. He did it during the LA riots. Please pull the trigger. Please kill them, Mr. President. Please just kill them. No, not actually. I'm not actually wishing for violence, but please send in the military and restore order. This is your country. You are the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. You are the chief executive over this country, and it is lawless. Take some responsibility. Take the reins. Send in the military. If this Jewish communist running the city won't arrest these people, if this gay cuck governor, Tim Walz, doesn't do it, send in the military. That's why you were elected. I don't get it. This happened the last time in Minneapolis, BLM, Summer of Love. Trump kept threatening, I'll send him in. I swear I'll do it. I'll invoke the Insurrection Act. Do it. Throw these people in jail. They are trash. Seriously. It's bad enough that they're rioters, which by itself we should have zero tolerance for. It's one thing if you want to protest. I'm a huge believer in the First Amendment. You have a right to speak. You have a right to assemble. You have a right to the press. All of that. You have civil liberties. But going out after midnight and establishing an autonomous zone and forming barricades in the streets and breaching private businesses or police headquarters, stealing weapons from the police, yeah, that's not First Amendment protected. There should be zero tolerance for that. That's bad enough. But then they're doing it in defense of criminal scammers and illegals. So then it's treason. You got to drop the hammer. Why do we have a President Trump if this stuff is going on in any American city? Drop the hammer. Please kill these people. Throw them in jail. Don't actually kill them, but throw them in jail. Like, you have to go in and shut it down. I'm not actually calling for violence, but Trump needs to send in the military and shut it down. We voted for no more chaos, no more riots. We don't want this. Shut it down. So we'll talk about that too. Should be a pretty good show. Before we get into it, I want to remind you to smash the follow button on Rumble, smash the like button, leave a comment, let me know what you think about the show. Remember to check out the merch store, Fuentes.store, to get shirts, hats, all that stuff. Subscribe on my website, AmericaFirst.plus. Get access to every episode of the show, everything I've ever done, plus MP3 format, AmericaFirst.plus. I'm feeling a lot better today. I've been sick all week. Somehow I got sick again. I couldn't even believe it. I thought it's because I worked out too hard. 2026, we're all ascending. We're all looks-maxing. I started working out. And then on Monday, I was in so much pain. And I thought, what is going on? Like, am I that much of a wimp? And then I got this horrible chill. I couldn't shake this chill. I'm like, is it just really cold in here? I took my temperature. I had 101-degree fever. I'm like, what the I was just sick. A week before Christmas, I got sick all over again. But the fever finally broke. I feel much better today. So I'm energized. I did Alex Jones this afternoon, a couple hours with the big man, with the GOAT. Love Alex. Love doing a little InfoWars appearance. He is the man. And we talked about all of it. He's so funny. We have a great chemistry now, you know. So I really, every time we do a show, it just gets better and better. So I really enjoyed it. I uploaded the replay of that on my Rumble channel. So if you missed it, you can check it out on the channel. I think it just went up a few hours ago. So check that out. We might have some big collaborations this weekend and next week. I'm already back in business. We're hitting the ground running in 26. Full week of shows, InfoWars. Might be doing some big collaborations this weekend. Going into next week, more the following weekend. It's going to be a lot of content, so buckle up. One other thing, before we get into the news, I just have to address this. Oh my goodness. Will this woman leave me alone? Seriously. She just keeps coming back and coming back. She's like every other one of my jilted, seething ex-girlfriends. She keeps coming back for more. She can't get enough. I don't know if she loves to hate me, or maybe she hates how much she loves me. But today I wake up, my fever has broken, I have my breakfast, fried chicken and pizza, and I'm watching YouTube, doing my morning routine, get ready with me. And then I am subject to an all-out attack from Candace Owens on Twitter. Essay after essay. And this is really a load of crap because, you know, I'm limited on X. They won't let me buy a check mark. So I only get 280 characters. I don't get the extended character limit because I can't buy a check mark. So I just get this full frontal attack from Candace Owens. She writes this giant essay, then another one, then another one. And I'm still shaking the cobwebs out. And she's attacking me over some nonsense. Then she does a whole show about me. She's playing clips from my show, the greatest hits. She's playing with her hair. She's batting her eyes. She's touching her face. I'm like, wow. Somebody woke up on the wrong side of my bed today, going out after me. And I'm not going to address most of what she said because most of it is really just, it's all shit we've heard before. It's all debunked nonsense. When people have a problem with me, they just go to the playbook. They just hit me on everything. Fed, gay, this. You were at the Capitol. You said this, you said that. All the shit we've heard before. But you know what's funny about Candace? This is the latest diversion. People seem to have forgotten. What happened to those Egyptian planes? I really just have one question. I'm not even going to rebut. I'm not going to refute anything she said. Whatever. Eat your heart out. I have one question for Candace Owens, and this is the only thing I care about. One question. What the hell happened to those Egyptian planes? Because we heard about the Egyptian planes every day and every night for like a month. I think she did 25 shows, 25, standing on the grave of Charlie Kirk, making up this nonsense about Egyptian planes. She said that these Egyptian military planes are following Charlie Kirk. She put together a table of everywhere that Charlie Kirk was, and every time he traveled, an Egyptian plane intersected with his plane. She put together this spreadsheet. that Charlie and Erica Kirk were being tailed by these Egyptian planes. Well, maybe you didn't hear, but it was uncovered before Christmas that all of that data is completely fake. It's literally all fake. She got 66% of all the data wrong, just straight up wrong. There was a YouTuber that did the actual research. He paid thousands of dollars to get the data from the relevant sources. He put it together on his own spreadsheet, and he found that not only was most of the data wrong, but that it was extremely wrong. That in many of the cases, not only were the Egyptian planes not in the same place as Erica Kirk, they were in another continent. So it's not like the plane was 2 hours away or in the same state where you could chalk it up to an oversight. No, they were in another continent. They were on another part of the planet. This was revealed in the second week of December. It was all fake. She came out to address this on December 16th, 2025. This is 30 days ago. On December 16th, 2025, she uploaded a video and she said, I'm aware there's some problems with my data. She said, and people misunderstood it. She didn't get it wrong. People misunderstood. She said, and there was a little sleight of hand there too. She said, the Egyptian planes are following Turning Point faith events that sometimes Erica and Charlie were at. So now it's Turning Point faith. Now it's not Charlie, it's not Erica, it's them plus the organization. And she made a commitment. She said, I've been working on an incredible document, an interactive map. She said, I'm uploading it to my website this week. And it is going to show you everything about the Egyptian planes because this is a God thing, and this was placed in my lap, and we don't know, but we know that this is the center of it. This is going to blow the lid on everything. It's been 30 days. 30 days. 30 days. No interactive map. No timeline. Where's my timeline? No timeline. No incredible document on a website. Nothing. Actually, I don't even think it's been mentioned since. So she did a whole show about me. And look, I am a fan. I'm a standis. I'm a standis of Candace Owens. And I, like all the other schizos, I'm waiting for my incredible document. Where's my interactive map? Where's my timeline? Don't tell me Nick Fuentes is a Fed for the 6 millionth time. Don't tell me Nick Fuentes was at January 6th. Yeah, it was awesome. I gave an awesome speech. I rallied the troops. We failed to take over the government, but we tried anyway. That's a joke. FBI, that's a joke. President Newsom. Yeah, okay, we've heard that before. It's been 30 days. I want my interactive map. But I think that this is the beginning of the end for Candace Owens. Credibility shot. Credibility is imploding. None of this stuff is adding up. The Egyptian plane is a stinker. It's totally fake, totally bullshit. The Fort Huachuca thing totally fell apart. Your witness is unreliable. He's a complete freak and an idiot. Now we've resorted to yesterday. I don't even know what we're doing. Now she's talking about time travelers. I actually went back and watched her show from yesterday. She said that when Charlie Kirk was a student in high school, he would jog down the street and street lights would flicker as he passed by because he had some kind of telekinetic ability. He had some kind of energetic ability. And I wish I was making that up. That's real. I couldn't even believe it. Somebody sent it to me, and I went through and I watched the show. Now the theory, forget the Egyptian planes. We're just going to blow past that because I guess that's fake. Forget Mitch and Fort Huachuca. That's fake. Now she's saying that Charlie Kirk was groomed since he was a little boy by lizard agents of the Matrix because they determined he was a psychic. She said He texted me that he was a time traveler. Why would he say that if he wasn't telling the literal truth? She said he used to tell me that when he jogged down the street, street lights would turn on and off. Okay, so what are you saying there? What's the implication? That Charlie Kirk is some kind of Tesla coil? That Charlie Kirk as an entity he's some kind of disturbance in the space-time continuum? What exactly are you saying now? The electric field is distorted when Charlie walks by? They knew that? Some kind of trans-dimensional force knew it? And now it's on to me. Now I'm part of it. Yes. Brigitte Macron, Netanyahu, the Stanford prison experiment, the French Revolution, Sigmund Freud, and yes, and I'm part of it too. And so is Alex Jones, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And look, you can't blame on me. Okay? Stop with the diversion, cut the shit, give us the map. Okay? This is like National Treasure. Give us the map. The timetable, the interactive map. Where is it? Where's the map, Candace? You know what else is really funny, though? This one really gave me a laugh. She is so mad that I said black people have low IQ. Because she said it like 5 times on the show. She kept going back and hitting it in reverse and going back over it over and over. She said, maybe they can learn something from me because I have a sub-Saharan IQ. Like, she's so mad. And it's like, look, bro, I mean, you are an idiot. And that kind of goes with the territory. I'm not saying there's no smart black people, okay? I'm saying that on average, black people have a lower IQ. That is just true, okay? Sigmund Freud didn't make that up, okay? The Sumerians didn't make that up. That was not, they didn't edit the history books. That's just true. And anyone would know that by spending any amount of time in like a black neighborhood, okay? Or spending any amount of time on social media. It's just one of those things. So I said that on her show. I don't think she ever recovered. I said on her show, I'm like, look, race is real. Whites and blacks are different. They're equal, but they're different. And the reason that blacks cannot create successful societies is because, on average, they have a much lower IQ. And IQ is the predictor for everything. I mean, you can actually map what kinds of jobs you can do onto your IQ quintile. So, for example, people that are like 90 IQ, they can do menial tasks, repetitive tasks. With some training, they can do repetitive tasks, things that you do over and over with your hands. At 115 to 120 IQ, you can do tasks that require reasoning and critical thinking. And so this is why a society of people with an average IQ of 100 can industrialize and create a complex, large civilization with bureaucracy and institutions and this sort of thing. And that's why a society of people where the average is 85 cannot develop a middle class, cannot do these things. And she got really hung up. She was like, well, what about Egypt? We was gangs. I was like, Egypt isn't in sub-Saharan Africa, bro. So she came back on that. She's like, my sub-Saharan IQ. Bro, chill. She's very insecure about her intelligence, like a lot of black people and like a lot of women. She's very self-conscious about her low IQ. And look, it's okay. Fortunately for her, she race mixed with a white person, so her children have a chance of being higher IQ. That's the good news. So you don't need to beat yourself up about it that you're a dummy. It's okay. I mean, you're good in other ways, you know? Good entertainer, good speaker, and all that. IQ, not her strong suit. But yeah, I almost felt bad. I actually felt bad because it clearly hurt her feelings very deeply. Sore subject. I understand that. So anyway, so that's my response to her. I mean, she wanted to throw all the, you said this, you said that. It's just like a load of crap. We're not talking about all the ADL spreadsheet, the hit piece that's been created about me. Let's talk about what matters. Let's talk about what you talk about on your show, which is Egyptian planes. We're not getting into a diversion. We're not getting into some other realm where you're going to throw it all back on me. Well, you can throw it all back on me, but like in that way, let's get back to what actually matters. You said for months that Egyptian planes were following Charlie Kirk. You said you were going to release an interactive map, and then you just never followed up. Why? Where is it? Where's the accountability? Either admit you were wrong or shut the fuck up and log off forever. Seriously. Because that is like the bar is on the floor in terms of journalistic integrity. You gassed everybody up. You got everybody whipped up into this paranoid schizophrenia. People are talking about maroon shirts and beekeepers and secret transgenders and trap doors and energy weapons. And this thing about Egyptian planes, you fucked up. Admit it. You got all the information wrong because you're a fucking idiot. You can't read a table because you're a low IQ idiot, and you messed it up. You staked your career on this. You hung your hat on that. That was the foundation. It became the foundation of the whole conspiracy. You fucked up. You didn't do your due diligence. You didn't run it by your white producers who are men. You didn't run it by the Supreme Court, your husband. You messed up. You made yourself look like an ass. You destroyed your credibility. If you want to build your credibility back, fess up and admit your mistake. But you're not going to get away with it. No one's going to forget. Nobody is going to move on. You're not going to create a big diversion and pivot to attacking me or on to the next thing. 22 episodes talking about Egyptian planes. You said you knew. You said that's the proof. Tucker, your buddy, who's best friends with Kevin Spacey, said, I happen to know that for a fact. That's weird because it's all fake. So what do you mean? You know, that's like Tucker Carlson's favorite thing. He loves to say that. I can't tell you how I know, but I know that's really because the emperor has no clothes. You have been caught with your hand in the cookie jar. That's all bullshit. Somebody paid $950 for the data and reassembled the table for you, and it's all fake. So where's our interactive map? I can't wait to see it, but something tells me we're 30 days out, we're never going to see it. She launched this huge attack on me today, and I replied, she said, I want to debate you on whether the world is run by satanic pedophiles like Brigitte Macron and Sigmund Freud and this, that, and Aleister Crowley. I said, I'm really more interested in the thing you've been talking about for the past 3 months, which is Egyptian planes. She didn't answer that on her show today. It would have been so easy. She just pretended like it was never even mentioned. So we need to start a daily count. 30 days overdue on the interactive map. Next update tomorrow. We're 30 days out from the interactive map. When are we going to get it? How many days? 100 days? 500 days? When are we going to get our map about the Egyptian planes? Because, you know, until we get that, this is a completely unserious person who misled the entire country. She embellished and fabricated claims to blow up her show. She was searching for something, anything, to keep the soap opera going, and she didn't do her journalistic due diligence. And now she wants to pretend like that never happened. Well, we're not going to let her pretend that that never happened. It happened. Egyptian planes, you live by it, you die by it. Your credibility lives and dies by that. Where are they at? Where's the map? Where's the timetable? You're not going to throw that on me. We want to see the map. So anyway, so that's my response to that whole thing. And if you have this brilliant sub-Saharan IQ that you're so proud of, well, then let's see it. You know, put it together for us. But that's that. We are going to move on. We're not going to spend too much time on that. Like I said to Alex Jones, The problem with crazy bitches is that if you spend too much time thinking about them or talking about them, you become crazy too. That is because women are irrational. They don't use arguments. They don't talk about stuff. They play on your emotions. They talk about relationships. They get into stuff like that. And you're never going to win an argument when you get into it with a psycho gaslighting woman. Anybody knows that. You know, it's that old axiom about, arguing with your wife. If she's right, she's right. If she's wrong, she's right. Happy wife, happy life. You just cannot engage on that level. So we can't get too much into that. But she's in the man's world. All right, you want to play dress up. You want to LARP as an influencer. I'm putting on my pantsuit. I'm a little political influencer. Okay, little girl. Okay, little Miss Girl Boss. Where's our map? No, you can't, throw a glass of wine on me. No, this is not a soap opera. You need to do your job and show us your evidence. Show us all this research you've been conducting. Super sleuth, mommy sleuth. Isn't that what they call themselves? All right, little girl. All right, little mommy sleuth. Where's our data? You want to play in the man's game? Where's your research? We're not playing all that other stuff. You want to go and sit in the knitting circle and talk about the other bitches about drama? Go ahead. That's your prerogative. But you want to play in the man's world and talk about conspiracies, you got to show us the numbers. But anyway, that's that. I do want to move on. I want to get into the Greenland situation. This is a really important thing. And I told you on Monday we're going to get into all the biggest stories from the past couple of weeks. I don't know that Greenland was really in the news today, but it's been back in the news in the past couple of weeks. And it's been talked about, especially since Trump got back into office, that this administration is seriously looking at a way to acquire Greenland, either by purchasing it, through negotiation, through military force. And finally, today, there was an announcement, this is from Fox News Digital, that the State Department is preparing a package to purchase Greenland from Denmark for $700 billion. That is the latest. And this is the story from Fox. It says, quote, President Trump's push for the U.S. to acquire Greenland could carry an estimated price tag of $700 billion. The estimate, reported by NBC News, was said to have been calculated by scholars and former U.S. officials involved in early planning discussions surrounding Trump's interest in acquiring the island as a strategic buffer in the Arctic against adversaries such as Russia and China. Trump wrote on Wednesday, quote, the United States needs Greenland for the purpose of national security. If the United States doesn't act, Russia or China will. He added that anything less than U.S. control of Greenland is unacceptable, and argued that the Arctic territory is vital to American defense interests, including the Golden Dome missile defense system in development. Trump's renewed push has increased tensions with Denmark and other NATO allies. Troops from several European countries deployed to Greenland on Thursday for a 2-day mission aimed at boosting the territory's defenses. France, Germany, Sweden, and Norway are participating in the exercise, according to Fox News, with leaders saying the mission is intended to demonstrate NATO's ability to deploy military assets into the Arctic quickly. Greenland is the world's largest island and has a population of roughly 56,000 people, with most living along its ice-free coastline. About 80% of the territory is covered by ice caps and glaciers. So, of course, this has been a discussion for years. Ever since Trump's first term, there has been this ambition for the United States to, in some way, acquire the Greenland, the Greenland territory. And I know that for a lot of people, this sounds completely random. Most people don't think about Greenland, don't know anything about Greenland, don't know where it is, whose jurisdiction it's under. And so for a lot of people, this is like completely random, completely out of the box. And if you have paid attention, there has been much discussion. At this point, I think it's almost trite about the benefits. So for those that don't know, Greenland is situated in the Arctic Circle. in the northern Atlantic or in the Arctic Ocean. And it is technically under the control of Denmark. It is self-governing, but it's under the jurisdiction of the Kingdom of Denmark. And it's been this way for a long time that they've had a relationship with the Danish government. Trump is interested in either buying it, conquering it, and much has been said about the benefits of this, and we could talk about some of them. First and foremost, people talk about the mineral wealth of Greenland. Greenland has a lot of uranium in the country, or in the territory, I should say, which might be important for future nuclear energy, nuclear weapons. And like with all critical minerals and raw materials, it's a zero-sum game. If we don't have it, then another country will. China has expressed interest in mining the raw materials in Greenland. And so if we don't have them, then China will get them. China will get the uranium. Greenland is also rich in rare earth minerals, which China has a near monopoly on sourcing those and processing those. So people say if we acquire Greenland, we get the uranium and we get the rare earth minerals, which we need for iPhones and for other technology. And that will help us circumvent China's monopoly on some of those critical minerals. Bigger than that, people say, is that in the future, the Arctic is going to become an area of strategic competition. As it stands right now, the North Pole and the Arctic is mostly covered by thick sheets of ice, and this makes it impassable by normal commercial vessels or military vessels. And so as such, there is not a lot of commercial or military activity happening there. If you want to send a cargo ship through the Arctic, you need an icebreaker to go through it. And Russia has more icebreakers than anybody. Other countries have very few or none, and most countries don't build them at all. So for the past century, there's not a lot of activity happening in the Arctic. This is not an area of strategic importance for that reason. In the future, however, it is anticipated that due to climate change, whatever you believe, if it's anthropogenic climate change or if it's natural climate change, it is anticipated that in the future, as the polar ice sheet shrinks, then this area is going to open up. And the Arctic Ocean, like all the other oceans, is going to become a place where there will be significant commercial activity. And so there will be commercial vessels sailing on Russia's north coast. They call this the Northern Sea Route. And so vessels will be moving goods in and out of Siberia in northern Russia to China, to Europe. And this will circumvent the other sea route, which of course goes through the Suez Canal. There's also a major sea route across the Arctic. And then there's a major sea route on Canada's north coast. So this is anticipated to become, again, due to climate change, polar ice sheet melts, there's going to be a lot of commercial shipping there. And then, of course, that becomes an area of strategic competition as well. If you want to control the movement of goods and people, and what goes with that is military personnel and supplies, submarines, you're also going to need to have a military presence there as well to oversee the shipping lanes, to control key choke points. And so just like we talk about the Taiwanese Strait, just like we talk about the Panama Canal, the Suez, this is going to become another area where competition is going to start. And so they say for the purpose of projecting American power in the Arctic, it's important to get as much territory there as possible. In particular, to oversee these shipping lanes, to control choke points where Russian submarines might move, in these choke points between Greenland and Iceland, Iceland and the UK. And so it has to do with sea routes. Now, the other strategic importance, which has been talked about a lot, and maybe this is the biggest one, is how it pertains to missile defense. So for those that don't know, most of Russia's missile silos are around Finland. They're in the north of Russia. And if a Russian intercontinental ballistic missile were to launch at the United States, they're not going east, they're not going west, they're going north over the North Pole into the United States. And Trump explicitly talks about this. He says that we need Greenland for the Golden Dome. What is the Golden Dome? Well, it's obviously a reference to the Iron Dome. Iron Dome is an anti-missile system or an anti-rocket system. It's meant to shoot down projectiles and protect a particular geographic area. The difference, however, is that Iron Dome is meant to protect a very small area from very primitive rockets launched at short range. And so this has to do with a small area looking at a particular trajectory of shorter primitive munitions, like those fired by Hezbollah on Israel's border in northern Israel, southern Lebanon, and like Israel's border with Gaza and southwestern Israel. Golden Dome differs from this because this is a true anti-ballistic missile system. Golden Dome, unlike Iron Dome, is meant to cover a very large area, the entire continental United States. Iron Dome might protect a city from a small rocket. Golden Dome is meant to protect the continental United States from an intercontinental ballistic missile. So the territory is bigger, but also the type of projectile is different too. And how do they differ? A rocket has a very low arc. It goes up, it comes down, and it's pretty simple. It's about how you would imagine it to work. Intercontinental ballistic missile goes up into outer space and then comes down. Some of these hypersonic missiles so fast they're undetectable. And so it's critical when you're intercepting an intercontinental ballistic missile, if it's even possible or reliable, is that you detect it where and when it launches. You get an early warning, and it's strategically located near where the missile is being launched. So if Russia is launching missiles at the United States, you want an anti-ballistic missile system forward deployed closer to where the missiles are being launched. And if you look at Greenland, it is right in the middle of where those missiles would have their trajectory in outer space. It's right in the middle if you look at it from the top of the globe rather than looking at a normal globe or looking at the Mercator projection of a normal map. So they say the real strategic reason, and putting the strategic in strategic defense having to do with strategic weapons, which are nuclear weapons, they say we need Greenland to have early warning systems. We need Greenland to have anti-ballistic missile systems forward deployed against Russia so that we could detect an incoming ICBM. They say that's the reason. So these are kind of the big three reasons they say. And it's like with everything, there's always multiple reasons, multiple justifications given. Like with Venezuela, it's oil, it has to do with Cuba, it has to do with whether Iran, Russia, and China are involved. It has to do with a lot of things. Similarly, Greenland, you've got critical minerals and uranium. You've got these Arctic sea routes, which are going to become competitive. And then you've got missile defense. In my opinion, however, the biggest thing is that Greenland is just close to the United States. It's close to Canada. It's close to the United States. It's close to Iceland. It's close to the United Kingdom. And it is true that in the future, if the North Pole melts and it opens up to commercial and naval vessels, then this is going to become a very relevant piece of territory. And if we do not own it, if we do not have it, it is true that other countries will take it. They will try to take it, and they already are. China published a white paper in 2018 about this. China wants to get into the Arctic Council. Even Russia doesn't want this. There's an Arctic Council of all the nations that have claims in the Arctic. China applied for membership, and Russia even said, Arctic Council, you don't border the Arctic. You're 1,000 miles away from the Arctic. And China said, well, we're a near Arctic power, and we're going to become an Arctic power. So China wants to project power there. Russia wants to project power there. We are engaged, as I said on Monday, in a strategic competition with great power rivals. Whether we like it or not, that is the case. Russia and China. And in particular, we are engaged in a competition with them in this emerging theater of competition and conflict. If we do not take it, they will. They are interested in it, and it is in their interest to take it. China has already made overtures to Greenland, trying to invest in mines, airports, research stations. Why do you think that is? It's the same reason that China took an interest in South and Central America. It's the same reason that China built a space station in Argentina. It's the same reason that China is building deep water ports in Ecuador and Peru, in Jamaica. It's because this is an area where they could potentially threaten the United States. This is an area where they can gain intelligence on the United States. They could forward deploy military assets near the United States. They could disrupt U.S. commercial activities. It's for the same reason. China wants the territory. They want to build stuff there, which is dual use, so they can plant a flag, so they can start bringing their personnel, so that they can start bringing their people, so that they can make Greenland dependent on them, so that one day maybe they could build a military base there. And so this is where, when Trump says we have to have it, it's not enough that we have our troops there. It's not enough that we have access to it. There is no substitute for ownership. And here's why. If America puts its flag down and we say this is now America, this is ours, this is our territory, then there's going to be no Chinese anything. There's going to be no Chinese research station. There's going to be no Chinese anything. And if we wanted them out, we could kick them out. And if they didn't listen, well, it's backed up by the U.S. military. No ifs, ands, or buts. The United States will defend its own clay. It will defend its own soil. It will defend its own people and personnel and infrastructure. So in the future, China has designs on Greenland. Russia has designs on it. They're getting pushy. They're being sneaky. They're writing up plans about it. If it's in Danish hands, well, who knows what's going to happen? Maybe the next president is out to lunch. Maybe in the future, that NATO Article 5 commitment, maybe it's a little bit less ironclad. Who knows what could happen? China might test. They might test that. Is this a real tripwire? Can we intervene here? And will it trigger U.S. intervention? Is the U.S. going to go to war for a Danish protectorate or something, a Danish vassal, a self-governing member of the Danish kingdom? They might test it. They will test it. And if they will test it and contest it, then they might eventually have it. And that is unacceptable. It is unacceptable for China or Russia to have that piece of territory and be right in the middle of effectively the Atlantic, right in between the United States and the United Kingdom, right on the doorstep of Canada and North America. And so what happens in the future when you have Chinese amphibious assault vehicles and Chinese tanks and Chinese drones and Chinese containerized weapon systems, and they go north through Siberia, out the port, they go across the Arctic, and they bring them to Greenland. And now they're right there again. This is diminishing the distance between the United States and our strategic rivals. So there's no substitute for ownership. And what I would liken this to is Alaska, Hawaii, Cuba, for that matter, Puerto Rico. Could you imagine if there was a scenario where the United States did not control Hawaii, Guam, did not have a military presence in Japan, in the Philippines, in these other countries? We would lose control over the Pacific. China would have broken out already. They would control all that stuff by now. They would have intimidated all these countries. They would have military bases. They wouldn't need to build them in the South China Sea out of nothing. Could you imagine if Alaska was a Russian colony during the Cold War? We never would have survived that. Could you imagine if Puerto Rico was a colony of some other country? And who knows, if that were invaded, if Cuba was truly under the subjugation of a foreign power, 90 miles from Florida, it's the same thing. And so acquiring Greenland right now seems like it's random, or it's too ambitious, or maybe it's unnecessary for us to actually have it. But that is just simply short-sighted. In 50 years, we will be engaged in a great power competition truly with China. They do have their eyes set. They have designs on these territories. They are trying to pierce the armor in our hemispheric defense, our fortress in the Western Hemisphere. And if we leave that to like Denmark, it's a country with no military. They're in NATO. Russia is testing NATO. Look at what Russia is doing in Europe, sending drones over every airport in Germany and Belgium and Denmark. In all these countries, they are testing that NATO Article 5 guarantee. They do it all the time. In some ways, that's what Ukraine is about, and what this collective security agreement is about with Ukraine. China and Russia don't take Europe seriously. And if that's Danish clay, if that's Danish territory, they're not going to take that seriously. And all that is going to do is set the stage for a crisis down the line, literally no different than Ukraine. Ukraine is another one where it's sort of like an ambiguous guarantee. It was sort of understood in the Budapest Memorandum that we would protect Ukraine, but they're not a NATO member. But they have this sort of collective security understanding with the United States and the West. Russia contested that. They tested the tripwire, and we were forced to come in after. We were forced to try to rush to their defense, and it's not going to work. Russia's going to have it. And mark my words, the same will happen in Greenland. So they're technically part of Denmark, but they have self-rule. China's trying to buy their way in. The United States is temporarily pushing that off. Who knows what could happen down the line if the United States remains on top of that. If China gains a foothold and they try something, once again, we're caught on defense. So the thing about territory is, it's like real estate. They're not making any more of it. There's only so much of it. And every country wants to control it, especially in our neighborhood. Our great power rivals want a slice of that. It is a zero-sum game. We want to control territory by them, to contain them, to prepare for a potential attack, to blockade them, choke them off, and the reverse is also true. A lot of people say this is a vanity project. Trump wants to grow the United States. He wants to leave his mark by gaining more territory like James Polk or like other presidents that have expanded the United States. And I think there's probably some truth to it. I don't mind at all. I think that is a healthy incentive. I think America should be getting bigger. We should have more territory. Bring them in and build a military base on top of it. It's in the Western Hemisphere. It's ours. So broadly speaking, I like the imperial ambitions of the United States. The Western Hemisphere is our fortress. That is what we need to defend ourselves. People don't realize we are in danger. We are constantly in danger. Russia and China are testing the waters. They are pushing outward. They do have global ambitions. That is why China wants an Arctic Belt and Road Initiative. They want an Arctic Silk Road, just like they have in the Pacific, just like they have with Latin America, just like they have in the Indian Ocean. They want the same thing in the Arctic because they have global ambitions. And the way that we protect our survival and our economic defense interests is that we have to lock down the entire Western Hemisphere. So people wanted a leader. That was part of the appeal of Trump in 2016. When he came down the escalator, he said we need a real leader. Not like a small L leader, like, oh, he's the leader of our country. No, we need like a capital L. We need a leader. We need a truly great leader. And what is a great leader other than a leader that takes territory? Other than a leader that gets victories? You know how you're winning? You have more territory than you started out with. That's how you know you're winning. So taking Venezuela, taking Greenland, taking the Panama Canal, taking Cuba, I support these things. Putting the American flag all over the map, I like it. I love that. That's good. That's good for us, and it's good for you. If you're a citizen with a U.S. passport, why would you be against your country getting bigger? If you are a citizen of the United States of America, if you are a U.S. passport holder, why would you oppose your country getting bigger, richer, getting more resources, more stuff, planting our flag in more places? You shouldn't. That's good for us. And what's good for us is good. That's what America First means. It means survival and prosperity of the American people first. And by the way, as far as Greenland is concerned, it really begs the question. There are 55,000 people on this island. 55,000. Do people realize what a small number that is? There are 3 million people living in the city of Chicago. 55,000 in the largest island in the world. That's nothing. It's nothing. They don't have a military. They don't have industry. They survive off of, like, fishing. Okay? These are like fishing villages in the Arctic, and there's no people, and there's no industry, and there's no military. And people say, well, it's technically Denmark's. Okay, who cares? And how big is Denmark? And what kind of military do they have? How many people live in Denmark? What kind of economy do they have? What kind of military do they have? And so what? They showed up a couple hundred years ago. Now it's theirs forever? No, I don't think so. Oh, and now we just have to let them have it. No, this giant island with all the uranium and all the rare earths sitting in this strategically important region, it belongs to the 20,000 Eskimos. No one can touch it. No one touch it. No one look at it. It's theirs. And technically it's also Denmark's because, I don't know, they came there a little while ago. What are you talking about? Another bigger country is going to kick down the door. If it makes China more able to destroy us, China will destroy them. They will gobble it up. Are you stupid? If you are a giant island with fresh water, uranium, critical minerals, you're right next to the United States, and you got 50,000 people that cannot defend the island. Do you think China is going to let that stand in the way of a platform to attack the United States? Of course not. If they could, they would take it in a heartbeat. They can, they have the capability. It's just that right now it might not be strategically viable because it's controlled by a NATO country. Maybe they don't want to challenge the United States. But of course, it is a matter of national security for China or Russia to have it. And it wouldn't take them a second to think about whether they would devour that territory. But we have to be the stupid people and think about national sovereignty and, well, it's technically Denmark's. And, well, Denmark is going to let us. Denmark is going to let us. Try and fucking stop us. I love that. Well, Denmark lets us put our military there. Denmark lets us use Greenland for our military?